It's so good to be back, and I'm excited to be back here with you guys. Welcome back to the Conservation Conversation. This is episode 38. Today, we're going to talk about mental health and nature. Welcome back. All right. Well, today I'm very excited about the topic. And one of the reasons, even before we begin the show, I wanted to share with everybody the actual reason why I have not been around very much. Part of it is I'm out in an area where internet is very difficult, and to be able to have the freedom to do live shows is a bit more challenging. So we're going to have to change the way we do things a bit. But even more so, I received some pretty bad news a few weeks ago, and I want to share it with everybody. I'm not sharing it because of I want any sympathy or any kind of reaction. The reason I'm sharing it is to just be honest with everybody and let you know why I haven't been around the last few weeks. As many of you know, I've been battling cancer since 2005, and it's sort of a weird hybrid cancer that the doctors have never fully been able to figure out how to treat or what to do about it. So I started a medicine called Odomzo in January. And this medicine, I was going in for MRIs every 3 months, and the medicine was showing an improvement where the tumor was shrinking about a half a centimeter every MRI, which started to give me a lot of hope. But then, as the most recent MRI was taken, the doctor discovered that the medicine was no longer working on the tumor, and the tumor had stayed the same over the last 3 months of the medicine. And so, what this means in the long run is the doctor was explaining to me that there is nothing else they can really do at the moment. I've had so many surgeries. There's been about 12. I've had so many surgeries, and the place has been tampered with so much. It's right on my tailbone that they cannot afford to do another surgery. So surgery is out, and at the moment, all medicine is out. And this really hit me hard. Since 2005, have always had a hope that somehow we'd able to get it under control. So when I learned that my oncologist that I've been seeing for the last 4 years told me that we're out of options, I was on my own. Now, my cancer is a very slow-growing cancer, and it's not a traditional cancer. It's caused by some sort of environmental factor because they weren't able to really figure it out or treat it. So it's nothing like previous cancers in my family. So my cancer, they've studied it, they've investigated it. There's been multiple theories as to what it is, and I've been treated accordingly to those theories. And at the moment, Western medicine just kind of said, oh, it's like they give me a consolation prize, like, all right, good luck. You're on your own now. So it shouldn't have affected me so deeply as it did, but I went into quite a depression and felt very hopeless for a while. And I think we've all been there, whether it is a mental issue that we're fighting with, depression, or other types of mental illness problems that everybody goes through and experiences, or it's a physical problem like mine that can lead to it. So that's why I wanted to do today's episode, because I have found and discovered, the reason is my friend said to me, look, I do believe that Western medicine is out of ideas for you, that your doctor can do no more for you, but that doesn't mean that more cannot be done. And what he was talking about was leading towards natural remedies. Now, natural remedies I know are very controversial, but just as a quick example, when my tumors were growing back at a very accelerated pace, I stopped eating meat and dairy, and my tumors stopped growing at such a fast pace. Now, I'm not saying that it comes directly from the meat, more than likely from the chemicals that are used in animal agriculture. But stopping that has helped my health tremendously, but I need to go a step further now. So I am checking out ways to work naturally with my body to help regulate the growth of the tumor. Anyway, the reason I bring it up is because, I know that there's always positivity in our shows, and we try to stay very positive. And I just wanted to apologize for everybody for being away for a while. But, I just want everybody to know that I go through the same ups and downs as everybody. And especially now through COVID, I think everybody has an extreme challenge that no matter what the frustrations were or the problems that we all had previous to COVID, not being able to roam freely and not being able to see any form of an answer in front of us has caused a lot of stress for a lot of people. And a lot of my friends have reached out to me and we've spoken aside from the show. So I do want to encourage anybody that feels alone and that feels discouraged and that feels depressed to reach out to me through Facebook, through YouTube. You can email me at ericecrown@protonmail.com. Please reach out. You're not alone. Remember, this is the time where in the midst of all these politics, we're watching the internet divide everybody. But those are just politics, and political theater is just designed to keep people feeling a need for politicians. If they didn't spend so much time making us frightened or making us concerned that the other side is going to destroy the universe as we know it, then there would be no needs for them. And I did read a very fascinating thing that said around the 80s, politicians went from being actual problem solvers to managers of fear. I'm not very political, so don't even try to get too far into that. I don't really care. Politics to me doesn't matter. What does matter are the political appointees, such as Andrew Wheeler in the Environmental Protection Agency. And we'll get back to that later. But out of all of this difficulty, what has come out is a rediscovery of how important nature is to our mental health. And this is something I think we can all agree on and we all share. And there's actually been studies done recently by Harvard and a few other places that have shown that down to a molecular level, the earth affects us. And we know as a human activity level that we affect the earth. So it's a symbiotic relationship. And I bring it up because the more that we destroy our natural surroundings, the less chance at natural happiness we'll have, and the more we'll have to move into a concrete forms of happiness, which I don't know if those work or not. There have been no studies to that. Me personally, when I'm too stuck in a cement world or a concrete jungle, I don't fare as well as when I get to be on the beach every day, or I get to look at a mountain every day, or I get to look at trees every day. Parks don't cut it. They're humans' attempts at trying to say, we know, we understand we need nature. We don't understand why, but we're going to put this little piece of fake greenery for you to enjoy. And in cities, they're often the only places where you can go. But that's why so many people are leaving the cities, and especially now with COVID happening, that a lot of companies are allowing people to leave the cities. People are leaving. So again, I'm not bringing up my cancer to get sympathy or any kind of negativity into anyone's day. But what I do want to bring up is that through that negativity, you find yourself at the bottom. And when you find yourself at the bottom, it's a fork in the road, and you have to choose if that problem is going to become a sharpening stone for your path or a wall to stop you from going down your path. And we all change things and work things out in ourselves differently. But for me, it became another sharpening stone, just like the cancer was in 2005, and it changed my way of thinking, just like it was in 2016 when I got tired of being a patient in and out of surgeries, unable to continue in traditional productions, traditional job markets, traditional life in general, and found conservation. And ever since I found conservation, it makes me happy. And that's why I'm excited to do today's show, because conservation and nature, even just talking about it, brings me joy. And it's important because we can't just live for other people's versions of what makes us happy. We have to live for how we are internally happy. Only then can we go through life and leave a little path of happiness, kindness, and love behind us that others can feel and lead by example. If we walk around grumpy, everyone around us is going to be grumpy. And if you think of it like in terms of microplastics, biomagnification, if an algae clings onto a piece of it, and then another thing clings onto it, and then a starfish, and then a fish, and then a bird, and then a human, if all these things eat, and you got to understand that the plastic grows exponentially each time. It's the same with either pain and grumpiness or kindness. We'll get on to kindness as well in a bit. But, I found a great quote today that I wanted to share with everybody because I think it really brings in to into terms what we're talking about today as far as nature and mental health. And we're not talking about the mental health difficulties created if you are a conservationist or an animal rights person, because I know those are way heavy on the soul. And for many of us that have been on the front line, our souls cry every day for what we've seen happen. But again, that's another sharpening stone that we can turn into positive portal for change, which I use that term positive portal for change, borrowing from my friends over at Peace Vision. John Bafar is an amazing journalist who has worked a long time in trying to bring positive stories that impact the world. I got to be on a couple of his podcasts, and all I can say is if you haven't checked out Peace Vision, please check it out. It is awesome. And what they do is every day they send out a positive message that you get on your feed. So, you might have 6 or 7 political anger messages, but those are wasted. I mean, really, who's going to benefit in the end except for the politicians that make all the money? I mean, why put yourself through all that stress? And one beautiful thing I love about Peace Vision, honestly, I look on my Instagram feed and there's something that makes me go, So, again, positivity is way more infectious than negativity. And we're going to talk about that today. But onto our quote of the day, my favorite part is Lao Tzu. Now, this is a Taoist belief. Love the world as your own self. Then you can truly care for all things. Simple, but profound. It's a way that we have to remember compassion must extend not just to those closest around us, but to every piece of nature that we're in touch with. And, back in Lao Tzu's day, that meant just not chopping down a tree on your neighbor's yard, or it meant not, killing an animal. That was what they called nature. Now, today, it's way more complicated for us because nature is involved in medicine, it's involved in manufacturing, it's involved in clothing, textiles. Animal exploitation, has become across the board problematic for the animals especially, but for every single industry. And they're somewhat free resources, is the way the industry sees them. They don't see them as sentient beings. And so one thing I want to posit to everybody before we start is we're going to learn about how it affects humans, but think about how it also, the quality and condition of the environment around the animal and how that affects them as well, because they're part of nature just the same as we are. And just because they don't speak a human language doesn't mean that they're not communicating with us. It's really on us to have not listened to what they have to say. And that's the same with the world around us right now. So I wanted to start with talking about ions. So they have done a bunch of research and they've discovered that ions from the water and from Earth change us on a molecular level, which affects our psychology. And again, today's topic is ecopsychology. It's a term I never heard of, but it's really important because we're all in a surrounding and we all try to stay in touch with nature. But let's talk about some actual scientific facts about the beauty of how nature can affect your mind. So ion counts exist in many different areas on Earth, especially those with high quality fresh air, but the negative ion counts are highest near moving water. Pardon me. Visiting and spending time next to waterfalls and waves is the best way to absorb the rejuvenative powers of negative ions. In a place with fresh air, there's generally between 2,000 to 4,000 negative ions per individual cubic centimeter. Now, in a place with moving water, there can be over 100,000 negative ions per cubic centimeter. Think about that. You can sit in a park and you can get 2,000 to 4,000 negative ions, which is still wonderful for you. But if you are near moving water, and that includes rainfall, that includes and anything that where the water comes out and it collides with the air, and it's this explosion of discharge that creates these negative ions. So you can get 2,000 to 4,000 in beautiful air, but if you're lucky and you're near a river, a waterfall, rain, the ocean, anything, you're looking at over 100,000 negative ions. Absolutely incredible, huh? Now, the reason that I think that's important is because we're going to talk about getting positively negative. And we never talk about that with this show. But you can be positively negative when it comes to ions. Now, the negative ion, what is a negative ion? It just sounds like I'm trying to sound smart because I read it off of a report. No, the negative ions are very simple to understand. It's a displaced part of the atom, and so they exist all around us. And the way that the world interacts with the world creates either positive or negative ions. Now, there hasn't been a lot of studies done into positive ions, but they have shown that the negative ions produced with the air and the water collision act positively on us. So negative ions can provide surprisingly positive effects on the body and mind. The negative ionization of waves near the beach and other forms of moving water are known to cleanse both body and soul due to some unique scientific properties. Negative ions have been proven to enhance mood, improve appetite, quell allergic reactions, stop headaches, and provide essential relief, and many other ailments, actually. Now, let's get into... Now, the reason that we're talking about ions today is because it's very important. We need to reframe our comprehension of ourselves within nature. And here's what I'm talking about. The information that we use to understand the world around us, whether it's animals or environment, comes from very old ways of thinking that have not been challenged and updated in a long time. And what I wanted to do is just to do a quick history of human thought. We're going to come back to the negative ions here. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about this. While we're talking about negative ions, in case you're thinking, well, what exactly negative ions do I have around me? Well, the reason why negative ions work is it provides a buffer from air pollution, noise pollution, and heat, all of which are linked to higher risk of chronic disease. And this has been proven in several scientific studies that the higher risk of chronic disease does come from cities and places where you are around air pollution, noise pollution, and heat. These are all unnatural environments for humans. Second, nature, whether it's a tree-lined street or a forest, provides a chance to be physically active, which can improve health in a number of ways, especially by lowering the risks of cancer and cardiovascular problems, and by improving mental health and cognitive function. And we all know that. We all go outside and either watch the sunset or we take a walk your dog through the neighborhood. No matter what, you're outside and you feel different when you come back. Third, nature provides opportunities to socialize with friends, which is associated with improved health. That's something that's been very difficult during COVID time. Everybody is stuck and we're all feeling a little bit isolated, and it's causing a lot of mental issues for a lot of people in multiple amounts of levels. So if you can find a little place near you where you can even just sit on your own and think and be, that will help you tremendously. And if your friend can meet you and it's not going to turn into spreading viruses, then you should really find a way to make sure that you're in touch with people. At the moment, the internet is the main provider of communication and socializing, but we do need nature to be a commonplace. We can all go enjoy nature and the company of other people. And the fourth way that nature can affect your mood, and again, these are all scientifically proven recently. The fourth way may be the most interesting. Nature may improve health directly by helping people recover from stress and restore their focus. That benefit may be explained in long-term reductions in chronic diseases that have been linked to people being in nature. So they have found over the course of time that the more time you can carve out for yourself to just enjoy nature, and as you've probably seen on my Facebook and my Instagram, I'm in a place right now up in the mountains in West Virginia. Everywhere I look is something inspirational and beautiful. And it has been one of the reasons that I have been able to come out of this depression that I had when I found out that there was no option as far as what we were going to do in terms of my cancer. Now, pardon me, one of the most important factors, again, as we were talking about, is rethinking it. So we now know from scientists that nature can affect our mood and our well-being. which, is a physiological thing because your mind affects your body and your body affects your mind. Now, we have to remember that sometimes, science needs to update its information and its knowledge. That's why it's so important to understand that nature can affect your mind, your body, and your soul. Now, I wanted to bring up some of the history that we still use to conceive of ourselves in nature, and I think it's kind of antiquated. But one of the people that I always like to bring up is Galen, good old Galen. Now, Galen was a Greek physician. Think about that. Greek physician. Now, his ideas dominated Western medicine for 1,500 years. Now, look at this chart here to the left of Galen, and you'll see Galen believed that the liver created blood, and the blood splashed around your body. And there was good blood, bad blood, and that humans were just composed of good bile, good blood, and bad blood. Now, this led to things like using leeches to remove the quote-unquote bad blood. Now, Galen's belief, again, is that the liver created blood and it's just sloshed around your body. Anywhere you had a physical problem was because you had bad blood in your quadrant. Now, this idea maintained itself until the late 1700s, when William Harvey discovered that the heart pumps blood. Now, think about that. Until the late 1700s, people didn't understand that the heart pumped blood. Now, as you can imagine, medicine has changed dramatically. Like if they were holding on to these old school concepts of Galen for over 1,500 years, and science never really advanced too far because the basis of it was based on the fact that blood was produced in the liver and just sloshed around. So the treatment concept changed when they knew that the heart was being circulated the blood was being circulated by the heart. That had a profound impact in the way that we affect and discuss medicine. Now, the reason that I wanted to bring that up is we are still stuck from a 1600s definition of man and animal, and that comes from Descartes. Now, Descartes published a book called Man is Machine, and this is around the 1600s, and what he said is that the body was mechanical. There were nerve endings, there were muscles, and everything would always react the exact same way. Therefore, his conclusion was, and again, they didn't understand that the heart pumped blood, but his conclusion, in the best of his knowledge in the 1600s, is that animals and humans are mechanical machines, and the only thing that separates us is logic. So we thought animals were dumb because we didn't think they had the same logic we did. And down here you can see these are some of the cutting edge scientific understanding in the 1600s. Now, we still go by that today. I still hear people tell me that animals can't think and they don't have logic. Now, when we understand that ions affect our body on a molecular level, and we understand that the world around us can connect to our bodies, our minds, and our souls just in its own natural way that we don't understand, we also do need to understand that even if animals are not necessarily always using logic or working out or talking to us in human languages, their bodies are still being affected by stressors and other areas. They are happy sometimes and they are not happy sometimes. And you can always see that when, your dog gets confused inside, but as soon as they're outside, they're just like, oh, and they go everywhere naturally they would go. Nature is not meant to be understood through logic. And I think sometimes we're running into that problem where we're defining ourselves from this 1600 concept of man as machine, where we're over here, nature's over here, and we're going to dominate and control nature. And that way of thinking is just as antiquated as Galen's philosophy on how the body operates. So, unfortunately, from the Greek time till when everybody thinks about Mozart, that whole time period was dominated by Galen's philosophy. So that is an understanding that we need to rethink and redevise the way that we comprehend ourselves, that we comprehend our health, and that we comprehend the animals that we all share the world with. And that, in turn, affects our mental health. So, again, mental health is something that can be affected by your environment. And, when you're just stuck in walls all the time, you're going to lose your connection with ions, you're going to lose your connection with sunlight, you're going to lose your connection with fresh air. All of these things contribute to your mental health and your mental health well-being. So what do we do? I mean, there's got to be a solution. Well, give yourself a half hour a day. It's that simple. Most of us live in worlds now where a half hour a day seems impossible because we align our schedules with everyone else's needs. But you have to give yourself a half hour a day. It's proven from this recent Harvard research that people who spend just 20 minutes in a place where they felt connected to nature experience a drop in stress hormones. So the best thing you can do is find a place that you love that's yours. When I went to college, I went to a college called St. John's College in Annapolis, and we studied the history of philosophy and Western thought, starting with the Greeks, moving forward. And one of our first assignments was to find a place in nature that spoke to us, and to go back and we had a journal, and we had to go back every week and sit there for a half hour to an hour, it was up to us, and talk about what we saw and what the community was there and how it changed over time. It's the same communities have different inhabitants and different things that happen depending on the weather, as the weather changes. So I think, we can really put all of it together and understand that the way that we treat nature will affect how we feel inside, whether we're human or animal. The way that we treat ourselves affects how we treat nature around us. So it really is a combined connection. And especially right now, if you're feeling isolated, you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling depressed, you're feeling down, I just encourage you to go spend a half hour somewhere where you feel connected and just shut your mind off. Stare at a dandelion, stare at a flower, check out the mushrooms. They're incredible. And also, I would love to hear how you relax in nature. Please write a comment right now and give us some ideas. What are the best ways you connect to nature? And how does it affect you? Give us your way of enjoying nature, and that'll help us find new ways that we can enjoy nature as well. And the more we can enjoy nature, the more upbeat we are, the happier we are. And remember, even if you don't believe me, there is scientific proof. Just go be near some water or sit in a park. And if you sit in a park, you'll get 2,000 to 4,000 negative ions. And if you're near moving water, you'll get over 100,000 of them. Everybody has a different piece of nature that inspires and that they love. And don't let that slip away, especially right now in COVID times where we're all feeling like we're stuck inside. And whatever problems we had before, just like biomagnification, have become magnified 100 times. So I wanted to just, share today what I've been through recently. And I think a lot of us are going through it on different levels all right now. But remember, the answer has been there all along. Go enjoy a little bit of nature, and you'll find it to be absolutely like nothing ever before. Now, we do have one thing, as you know, we always like to talk about in the conservation conversation, what's happening around us. So, very quickly, one thing I did want to bring up, and we have to think about this, and it doesn't matter who wins the election, because this is going to become a major issue. What we need to do is we need to discuss what's happening with NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act. Now, the reason I bring this one up is because this is an act that can affect our day-to-day life and how we see things. Now, what is NEPA? So NEPA was actually signed into law by Nixon, January 1st, 1970. Now, what it does, it requires all the agencies to assess the environmental impacts of proposed actions prior to making decisions and allows communities to weigh in on the environmental impacts of projects. And it allows the communities to propose alternatives. Now, unfortunately, in 2017, there was an executive order, 13807, which was put out requiring agencies to approve environmental reviews as quote unquote one federal decision, directing the Council on Environmental Quality to consider revisions to the NEPA. Now, the problem is what they have done is basically they have accelerated the environmental review and permitting processes. Now, my friends in Florida will know what that means, because with this sped up permitting processes, companies like Mosaic or Big Sugar are now allowed to dump excessive amounts of cancer-causing chemicals into their local water supplies. And everybody understands that from Flint and other places. So this is NEPA. This is what it's supposed to be: social impact, environmental impact, economic impact. There's supposed to be public impact and tribal consultation. And we've also seen tribes pushed to the side for oil projects. So what we're doing is we are destroying our ability to enjoy the nature around us. And as we give nature no consideration, we're going to start as an entire culture to become more depressed, more frustrated. And you can see it. If you see the division of people right now and the frustration that we hear with everybody's political sides right now, it all comes through, and none of us have anywhere nice to go because we are losing what beautiful environment there is. Now, this is me actually, and I'm wearing my kindness t-shirt because Kindness 2020, I think that is what I'll be voting for. That's what I think we've all missed this year, and our love for kindness. But this is the river right down by where I am. And this was actually about a week after I got the bad news that my cancer they're kind of out of ideas, and it's somewhat incurable at this time. And that made me very happy. That river, you know what? I just went down there and I spent 2 hours, and it just made all the difference. This is me shooting a documentary that's going to be coming out next year. I can't give away too much of it, but I'm shooting with one of the most incredible environmental activists that I know, and we're actually in the middle of a pond. And look at all those lilies, and just sitting out there in that canoe for a half hour gave me so much inspiration. It was absolutely beautiful. Now, let's see. Okay. Let's see if we can now. And I wanted to show you guys, this is my walk down to the beach. This is what I usually do in the mornings. And the reason I do this is because before the day starts out, I like to spend a half hour of just to myself. Oh, there we go. And it's just that quick. So anyway, that is one of the things that, oh, here we are. So I just wanted to share with you, there's so many different types of environment, nature, but no matter where you are, remember that you matter, your mental health matters, and especially right now, if you're having any difficulties with getting through something, as I personally went through recently, don't be afraid to consult nature. And even if you think it's kind of kooky or weird or whatever, it's not. It's actually scientifically proven. And this is the beauty of things, is we're starting to understand things on a deeper and deeper level. We've come further since we've gotten rid of Galen than we did in all the years Galen's philosophy was there. So if you think about it, there was 1,500 years of no motion. And after that, the whole thing just opened up. And as a result, we now are studying how we fit into nature. And we do. We're part of it. It's part of us. It completes us, and we complete it. There is a nice relationship. The world, in many ways, when people live in communities that take care of the nature, that nature is more preserved and takes more care of more animals. And, you know, and then we have all the other issues where now we're going to bring it back to everything. What you buy affects nature too, you know, so your natural happiness that the world provided us with is in danger because of things like manufacturing. We've gone over many of these topics before. For example, Costco toilet paper, and all toilet papers that are called soft use virgin pulp. And that means that they need a brand new tree to make that useless piece of toilet paper. Now, there are other types of toilet paper. If they don't say soft, then it's not using virgin pulp, which means it can be recycled, which I know kind of sounds weird, but recycled paper is perfectly fine and it's way less destructive. We're watching the entire boreal forest in the northern hemisphere be decimated for Costco toilet paper. And I'm not even exaggerating. It's a massive deforestation issue. So please don't buy that. That is one way you can help fight to preserve what incredible nature we have around us. Another thing is IKEA furniture. On a previous podcast, we talked about the fact that the IKEA furniture is actually being made from virgin wood and illegal logging taking place in the Carpathian Mountains throughout Romania. And it's actually a major issue because it's creating all this home that used to be home to the bears, and now their numbers are dwindling fast, and they're heading towards becoming an endangered species, when in fact Romania's Carpathian forest is where 2/3 of the old growth of Europe still resides. And it is on its way out, so people can buy particle board. Now, I understand there's a lot of economic challenges, and IKEA might be the way to go for people, but please understand that everything you buy from IKEA is destructive in nature. As people were talking about squalene, sharks are being culled for squalene, and that is for makeup. Tons of makeup uses squalene, which is absolutely useless. Now, there's an olive oil version of it, and it's spelled differently, and it's a different squalene. Anyway, it's very tricky. They're talking about using squalene for the COVID vaccine, which has gotten a lot of attention recently, but 10 times that amount is used just for makeup, foundation, lipstick, and everything else. So, we have to understand that manufacturers, we're not bad people by buying things, but manufacturers have decided to exploit animals and environment in order for profit. And so it's put it upon us to become better consumers, because as we and how we consume affects the natural world around us, which, as we've learned, just is a full circle thing that comes back to our ability to be happy in general. So it is full circle, and our actions not only affect animals and environment, they affect us. So remember that. Even if you don't care about the animals and you don't care about the environment, know that if you are destroying the natural world around you, you are destroying a chance at actual happiness and places to relax. Now, again, it comes back to we're opening a whole bunch of new areas for drilling, for oil exploration. There is a lot of environmental destruction right now. And I do encourage everybody to find out what's happening on their local level and try to fight back, because nature is the most important thing we have. It's what teaches us. I mean, if you think about it, science and math started from nature. It started from man's curiosity. And the interesting thing about the Greeks is that they didn't have a separation of philosophy, science, and math. It was all one thing. You used philosophy and writing and Platonic dialogue to comprehend what you watched happening in nature, and how that affected it. So, they understood that the tree is vertical and the ground is horizontal, and that enabled them to start to understand the concept of angles. They started to track the stars, and although it did lead to some crazy theories along the way until Copernicus, we eventually understood what was happening around us. But we've always had a curiosity to understand what's around us, and people living in those simpler times had more nature, so they had never really had to think about these aspects. But as we've grown and overpopulation has really taken things into overdrive, our resources are dwindling, which means that our natural ability to find happiness and peace is dwindling. Good for pharmaceutical companies, not so good for people or animals or environment. They're all tied together. So remember that everything we do affects the world around us. We're no longer isolated islands. If you do buy IKEA, you are paying for illegal logging. If you buy soft toilet paper, you are paying for illegal logging and destruction of the boreal forest. If everything comes down to one of these things. If you're buying makeups that have microplastics, microbeads, if you're buying products that are containing PVC or plastics and you're placing them in the water, PVC is one of the most toxic chemicals once it's chipped off to become microplastic. Please never, ever put PVC or any plastics, especially not a plastic reef or a plastic holder of any sort because it's cheaper inside of the water. It will get chipped and it'll go into becoming microplastic, which eventually through biomagnification makes us sick. So if we destroy our environment around us, it literally makes us sick in our minds, our bodies, and our soul. If we add contaminants to the environment, we're making ourselves physically sick. There's so many microplastics in the world. They estimate everyone eats approximately 1 credit card's worth of plastic per week. And that's crazy. We shouldn't even be eating plastic that we don't know we're eating. But it's an enclosed system, and we're not separate from that system, and we have to remind ourselves of that. So I'm really happy to be back to talk to everybody today. It is scientifically proven that spending time in nature and understanding negative ions and being just out in nature provides you multiple ways to be happy, whether it's affecting you on a biological level where the negative ions are changing how your body is reacting, or you're just going out for a walk and you're getting a little bit of a break from noise pollution, air pollution, or you're just going out into nature and it just is a place where your modern thoughts don't fit. They don't have any meaning there. You know, whatever, however it is, nature is a cure for us. And we have to stop being a virus and start to become a cure for nature. Anyway, I can't wait to see the comments here. I'm excited to hear how everybody goes out and enjoys nature. Let us know where your private spot is. If you have a photo, please put a photo up. Let us see your joy. Let us see your zen. Let us see your place that affects the world around you and how you see the world around you, which comes through the filter of the environment always. So I hope everybody's doing really well. Hang in there, everybody. I know this has been a very difficult year. Things are bound to get better and better and better. So remember, nature and mental health are connected. Treat yourself well, treat nature well. It's all the same thing. We're all in it together. And as I always say, it is our world. Let's talk about it.